Yo, what is up? This is your boy Guru back with a new video, and today we're going to look at the two T-34s, one the Soviet T-34 and the Chinese T-34. But first, let me thank you for your continued support. I reached a milestone 666 subscribers. If you are new here, please subscribe and consider turning on your notifications, and also turn on give this video a like. If you took something from it, and if you enjoyed the content, and let me thank you in advance for it. Well, as I was saying, today we are looking at the T-34s, the tier 5 medium tanks. One is the Soviet T-34 and the other is the Chinese T-34. We start off with the Soviet T-34. We are in Steppes South Spawn. We are going to a bush camping position, and we're going to make use of our 57mm gun. Of course, if you're playing the tier 5 T-34, always run the 57mm gun, and this is because of the DPM that it's producing. 2521 DPM on this gun. Basically, you reload every 2 seconds, which is why most people, well, not most people, me anyway, I don't even run this tank with a gun rammer. In fact, I forgo the gun rammer. Instead, I run the vents, I run the gun laying drive, and I run the optics on this tank. And that's because if you're reloading at 2 seconds, every 2 seconds, you don't really need a gun laying drive that's gonna help you reload 10% quicker, because 10% out of 2 seconds is absolutely nothing. You're better off using a gun laying drive and vents to help you aim quicker, and this does exactly just that. Standard aim time is about 2-3 seconds, but when you're having vents and gun laying drive, you aim at around 1.88 seconds, which is really quick for a tank like this. And as you can see right now, I'm pushing forward, and the only reason why I'm doing that is it's very risky, because there are about 4 tanks that still haven't been spotted. But if you're looking at the results, we're leading 4-2 right now, and if I don't push forward and attack, I might not be able to get the amount of damage that I can possibly get. And I know that I can out DPM this tank. I knew he fired at me earlier when I bounced him, so I knew he was here, but I knew I could out DPM him, but I had to take that risk, push forward, and I pushed forward because that keyhole pushed forward together with me. Now, if he didn't push forward, I wouldn't have gone along, because I felt that if he pushed forward, I could have used him at least as some kind of like a damage buffer. Maybe he would have absorbed the first shot, and I could have saved my HP a little bit, saved my HP for 1 shot, and I could take on that PZ-34 by myself, just using my DPM. So I took a little bit of risk there. You have to risk it for the biscuit sometimes, and it just turned out that way. It worked out well for me. Now, I couldn't pen this Valentine 4 with my standard AP shells, and I had to switch to APCR in order to pen him more reliably. I could have got a lot more damage out of this game if I had fired more APCR shells, I guess, but that's the way it works. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't work for you. But I wanted you to see that during the game, when I decided to push forward, we were already leading 4 tanks to 2, and if I did not push forward, and if I did not play as aggressively as I did, I might not have gotten more damage than I did out of this game. So I took a bit of a calculated risk there to push forward, and in normal circumstances I wouldn't have done that, but in light of the situation when we were leading 4-2, the game would have been over without me doing any kind of damage, significant damage, if I did not risk it for the biscuit. I saw that keyhole on my team pushing forward, and it looked like it could have been an opportunity for me to push forward. I might have died there if there were more tanks there, but I took a little bit of a risk to go forward, and it paid off for me, and that got me the amount of damage that I did get. I was playing a little bit safe here, hanging out a little bit before I decided to push forward here, and once the rest of the survivors were spotted on the other side of the map, it was time for me to just take the shortcut and push forward here and try to get to them before they lose all their HP. I want to make sure that I can get there and do as much damage as I can. Unfortunately, he made that crossing. I was trying to get to shoot him as he was making that crossing, but looks like he made it. So he made it there safely. Now, see if I can get some shots on this guy. He's disappearing from me. So the only thing I can do right now is just risk it for the biscuit. I can't take any shots, but fortunately I got him facing on the wrong side. If he was facing my direction, I would have been dead. And it took me 3 shots before I can finally track him, but there you go. If he was facing me, I would have been dead. But very fortunate there to get 3 penetrating shots out of him, even with my standard shells. And see if I can get the final kill on this guy. This is an ace tanker game, but I didn't realize that my team was capping out, and I didn't have enough time to finish out this guy. I was going to YOLO forward, but if I did, he would have definitely killed me with his with the last shot, because I was a one-shotter. I wanted to play it safe here. As I was pulling the trigger, they finally capped it and the game was over. But nevertheless, I still got my ace tanker out of this game. And we're gonna jump into the next game, and this time in the Chinese type T-34, which is the exact same tank except on the Chinese tech tree. But here we go. Once again, it is the exact same tank. 112 standard penetration on the standard shells, 189 APCR penetration on the premium shells. Also the same thing. You also run this tank with the 57mm gun, just because you get the DPM and the 2-second reload time. Again, I don't run any gun rammers on any kind of tanks that reload below 5 seconds, basically. That's my style, but you can play it your way. You can run with a gun rammer if you want, but I feel that a gun rammer improves your 2 seconds of reloading by 10%. Like 10% is like a fraction of a second. It's not worth it. But there you see there, the accuracy of this gun is quite good. I managed to snipe that guy out there with my 57mm gun, and 85 damage per shot on this gun. You do need, you wish you got a little bit more damage, but 85 is not bad considering that you reload every 2 seconds. It's not bad at all. This is the default gun that everybody uses, whether you're on the Soviet T-34 or the Chinese T-34. It's the same thing, but you do feel a little bit of difference between the Chinese T-34 and the Soviet T-34. The mobility on the Chinese T-34 is slightly less. You can feel it in maybe not the top speed, but you can feel it when it's wiggling around and when it's moving forward and backwards. It doesn't feel like it is. It doesn't feel like it's as nimble as the Soviet T-34. Also, the only major difference I would say between these two tanks is the gun depression. Right here, I can't work with this 5 degrees of gun depression. The Soviet T-34 has 8 degrees of gun depression, and which is like 3 degrees is a lot more than this tank. But what I can say is everything else is very similar. These two tanks are super important in their respective tech trees. That's because the Chinese T-34 is going to lead you to 4 very important tanks, which is the 1113 tier 10. It's going to lead you to the 5A, a very important tier 10 tank. It's going to lead you to the 121, maybe not the most desirable tier 10 tank, but still a very playable, very fun medium tank. and it also leads you to the WZ-120. Is it 121, the light tank? So the type T-34 Chinese medium tank leads you to 4 very important tier 10 light tanks, while the Soviet T-34 leads you to, I think, 7 very important Soviet tanks, which is the 277. It leads you also to the IS-7. It leads you to the Object 140. It leads you to the T-62A. I don't know what the other 3 tanks are, but believe me, the Type 34 and the T-34 are 2 very, very important tanks that you need to get through to get you to all the super nice tier 10 tanks. Now, I managed to get that Churchill out there only because he wasn't looking at me, and I did have to use premium shells to penetrate him because I couldn't do any damage on him and track him at the same time. Even with premium shells, it could only keep him tracked, and I was very lucky there to actually shoot him at the turret while he was preoccupied looking at someone else. But there you go. This tank, although it's quite competitive, almost as good as the T-34, but just not as great as the T-34. In fact, in average, I make 200 XP less than the T-34. And I'm dead there. That was the end of the game for me. We do end up winning the game, but only finish with a first class in this game. I did make a little bit of credits because I didn't fire a lot of premium shells, but that's not the point of this tank. You do need to fire a lot of premium shells. If you're playing the 57 gun, you've got to be ready with premium shells. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like, and thanks for keeping up, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.